Once again, if you're in the first flight, that's flight number 1337, which is at 2 o'clock.
Alright, spot number one. There is a plethora of bait on this field. That is ridiculous. Oh. Just got nibbled. Good clock. Yep. I think he's on there. Yeah. Big. Not big. Feels like a keeper though. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a start.
Can we measure that guy? Or, yeah, he's probably a keeper.
No, he's a keeper.
How cold is that water? Quite frigid.
Yeah, hit the manual real quick. It's not freezing cold. It's colder than he is though. Fish numero uno.
Oh my God.
Oh. It's like 1,000 freaking fish on my sea rig when I rigged it reeled up.
There's a hard spot not far from the boat that I've been getting bit in. God, there's shit down there attacking it. I don't know if they're bluegill or barfish or what. Oh. Feels like another keeper. I don't know.
Oh boy.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Come on now, dog.
Is that, where'd you just catch that?
Right under the boat.
Dude, there's probably 1,000 bass right here underneath this thing. Oh my gosh.
That one's pretty fat.
Dude, look at this. Look at this. Did you see that?
That's wild.
Look at all that.
14, right?
Yeah.
She's gonna make the cut. It's a healthy fish.
Dude, those are all bass. Oh my gosh.
You know what that calls for, dude, honestly, is the flutter spoon. That might get them just feeling some type of way.
Dude, look at that. Let's give it a shot real quick. Look at that. Oh, I just lost one. Oh. Look at how he come out. Whites. Not that bass right there? Right on with that little whites. Another white. Look at him. This is good. Gosh, damn it,
Come on, man.
dude. Fuck.
I feel like they're starting to bite.
Give that fish the fucking beans too, man. Give that fish straight beans. Oh, oh.
Be about time.
Fired him up, man.
Go right real quick. Alright, you're good.
These are all bass right here.
Yeah, I got one. Felt yucky. Ate my bait clean off the hook, dude. All that's left is the head. That's wild.
Biggin.
Feels better. Yeah, that's a keeper.
Oh, that sucker was out there. Look at him busted. Oh my gosh. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Nice. Oh boy.
That's a solid one.
I'll take it. Here's the other ones.
Fish number 2. Yeah, I think as we get to the back side of this, there's just more largemouth.
Yeah.
Ow.
Oh. Massive school, dude. Bass. Bass.
Nice.
There's a ton of them down there.
Look, I'm tangled up. Might just keep.
Hey.
Get that bang out while
Hey.
you're down there. Just throw them into my life jacket like that.
I'll get you all banged up there. Oh my gosh, dude, this fish is driving me nuts. Yeah, he's 14. He's got to go though. There's so many this size down there. I'll take it. Number one. Oh my Lord.
Be big, be big. The what?
What the hell is even that?
What? Dude. What the fuck?
Clean broke, random.
Jig gone.
The fuck?
Fuck. Oh, I ran out of Rage Cross. You don't got any, do you?
Yeah, I think I actually do. Oop, I might have one now. Yeah, I do. That's a good fish. Yes.
Too big.
Be big. Nice.
It will go to uppers.
That'll do, donkey.
Attaboy.
might throw one of these 1-pounders back, even though we only have 4.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't.
We can catch another 1-pounder.
Everyone looks the worst, man.
Does it feel like?
Ball and chain. Dude, what the? How do you do that?
There's really good bottom down there,
Yeah.
which I hadn't felt in a while.
I haven't felt good bottom in years, boy.
It's been a minute, man. Oh yeah, I'm about to get hammered. I'm in some rowdy shit right now. Well, so where you guys last saw, compared to now, I am back home. I am in the office, in the lab, as they say. This is where half this side of the office is like all my fishing gear and golf stuff and whatnot, and then that side's like where I actually work. So I feel like this would be a good place to kind of end the tournament part of it and let y'all know what happened, how things went, kind of fill y'all in on the rest of the deets. But yeah, so what you guys last saw, we were out in what we call the Abyss. It's just a literal like 16-mile flat out in the middle of Sam Rayburn. There's humps, there's little drains, there's points that come off of it, and yeah, we call it the Abyss because it's like everything looks good out there. It takes, I mean, it could take you two weeks realistically to like properly like look over that entire area, but a lot of tournaments get won out there. But I would imagine most of the guys that win out there, you know, they're the guys that live out there, or at least have the ability to spend a significant amount of time out there. Because if not, you end up kind of running into the same problem we did. Although we are both pretty experienced offshore fishermen, and we have all the same equipment for the most part, not crazy stuff, but there's really no reason why we shouldn't be able to go out there and be able to smack them. But at the same time, you can get lost in the sauce out there pretty quickly. So what ended up happening with us is we spent those practice days graphing. We checked on a couple other things, but usually when we're checking on other things, like you saw in the beginning of the series, we went into beach. We typically only go into those kind of areas to like check on the lake, essentially, because the areas that we know best, like beach, it tells you so much about the rest of the lake. You know, it tells you a lot about the way the grass is growing, hard spots, how it sets up in there, what type of grass is growing in there, what new grass, and not just beach, but other areas like Caney or go up into Jackson Hill area. It just tells you a lot about the lake when you go to those like commonly known areas. So yeah, we got out to those first few spots, and then we basically spent the rest of our time in practice in the Abyss and graphing these big schools. Now, when we find these schools, a lot of times they're like schools of like 100 to 200 fish. So you can kind of count on most of those schools being like Kentucky's, or like just schooler fish, like those 1 to 3 pound caliber fish. Even if you do find the largemouth, which aren't bad. It's nice to get a limit of those sometimes when it's like a struggle tournament. But these Texas team trails are 1 or 2 day tournaments. The championships 2 days, the regular ones are 1. You don't really need to even worry about those fish. Like if every fish in your bag isn't over like 5 pounds at Rayburn, you're not even going to be in the top 5 or top 10. So yeah, you got to go out there and crush them. However, you got to play the statistical odds. Like, we know our best odds at catching 17 to 20 pounds is to probably go shallow most of the time, per our fishing skills. But at the same time, our best odds at catching that 25 to 35 pound bag is almost always offshore. So even if it's like the way I like to fish and Collin likes to fish offshore isn't necessarily like that style of like fishing the abyss. It was summertime. They were setting up on ledges. It was like the right thing to follow, and we trusted our gut with it. And what we would do is we'd go find these groups of 100 or 200, and we'd catch a couple. But while we're catching those fish, just as like limit filler fish, we're going around it with the live scope, as well as me in the back of the boat with the down imaging, and we're looking for little drop offs where there's groups of like 5 to 10 to 15 bass that are set off just a little bit outside of that 100 to 200 fish zone. Because in those big zones you have of like the hundreds of fish, it's not all bass even. Like, that's why you'll see in the video we're catching hybrids, we're catching sand bass, barfish, we caught a couple catfish, some goose. You're catching all sorts of species out of those schools. And then you hop into those little smaller schools on the outside, and that's where you'll catch your better fish. The problem is if you miss a bite out of those ones, or even if you catch one, those groups of the smaller fish are typically either one moving really fast or they're stationary, but when you hook one of them, they all come to the boat with it. And that's the beauty of how much live scope has taught fishermen around the world, but especially us. For this scenario is like you can watch it happen in real time. So you see those fish, you cast a jig in there or whatever you're fishing with, you catch one, they all follow it back to the boat, and then you literally can watch those fish disperse into the school of like hundreds. And so now there's no more fish down there to cast at. And back in the day, you would have been casting at that same brush pile or whatever for 20 minutes wondering why they quit biting, and they're not even in the brush pile anymore. They've gone and joined the other school. It's like a self-defense mechanism. One of them gets caught, they all chase it, they realize that's not food, something's happened, something's weird, and so they go join the pack with hundreds of fish and they preserve themselves. At least that's how I kind of look at it, but you can see it happening over and over on the graph. So what you guys have seen in this video is basically only like the first 2 hours of that morning. And then my phone started overheating and then it wouldn't charge, and so yeah, this is why I need to get a proper camera. But at the same time, we're gonna make do. Essentially that 2 hours makes up for what the rest of the day was. It was just pretty much continual catching fish one after another, but nothing coming in like over that. I think we had one fish that was like 3 pounds 4 ounces or something, and then the rest were dinks or like 1 pounders. So I'll put where we finished on day 1 here on the screen somewhere, but it wasn't good. We had like 10 and 11 pounds, something like that, and I'm filming this a few days after, or like a week after, so my memory's kind of shit right now. But yeah, we were pretty disappointed in that. But it's a 2-day tournament, so we're like, man, we can go swinging for the fences and yada yada, and we're having all that pep talk with ourselves. Oh, we're still in it, we still got a chance. Knowing kind of in the back of our mind, we've kind of shot ourselves in the foot. These guys are hammers. Whoever's catching them is going to catch them again the next day. This isn't Okeechobee where you can go catch 30 pounds and then 10 pounds the next day. Rayburn's, when you got them, you got them. You can usually catch them more than a couple days in a row that way. So we get back. Point is, you didn't miss anything. We whacked them all day, but they were all about. You would have just been watching the same shit on repeat, anyways. But yeah, we were gutted after that. Adrenaline dump, big time, super tired. So we got back, passed out immediately. Woke up probably around like 9 or 10 p.m. Rigged up a couple rods, had a few brews, and then went back to bed basically. Woke up the next morning, and we had kind of talked the night before, like scoping out different ways we could hit the abyss and blah blah blah. And we were also just kind of throwing around the idea of just bailing on the entire Abyss strategy and just go do something fun. Just go. It was the last tournament of the year. It's the last day of the year. The last time him and I would probably fish until we're trying to plan something for the fall. But we live far away. So we're like, man, let's just go have fun. So we picked out literally the flip other side of the lake and went up the east arm. We picked a couple little areas. We fished at the East Arm a lot, but we just picked a couple areas that we weren't super familiar with, or in one area that we had never fished before. And we just kind of circled them, talked about them that night before, and the next morning we were sitting in the boat before takeoff, and we were like, dude, fuck it. Like, let's just go somewhere we've never fished before and just go have fun. We pulled up to the first spot, and we could see some bait getting, like a shad spawn going on, some bait getting pushed up on that bank. So we were fishing along the bank, a bunch of hay grass stuff, and we're catching fish. I'm fishing with a chatterbait, top water. He's fishing with a minnow, and then like a wacky worm. Then I'm fishing with a minnow, and we're using a little bit of scope and hay grass at the same time, kind of shallow and scoping, because we were fishing like a relatively main lake, like actual point, not a secondary point. And he could fish like looking out, and I could fish parallel, and then vice versa. We would flip and flop. So we were fishing shallow and deep at the same time, and we're catching fish throughout the morning. We had a limit pretty quick, but they were all 1 or 2 pounders. And at this point too, I'd kind of made the mental choice that morning to like not film. I don't know why. I was just like, I don't want to deal with it today. I just want to go out there and have fun. I'm gonna have to get used to filming and making sure that it's a priority. So I do apologize for that. We ran up the river. After that, like we were at like looking at like 9 o'clock, 9:30, and we were like, this looks like much of the same. Let's just keep the theme of fun going and just go do something completely different. So we had picked out this island, these chain of islands that we'd kind of been around before, but we hadn't fished like heavily. Plus the lake looked completely different this time. So we're like, let's just go run around those islands and just flip bushes or throw something. I don't know. Let's just go fuck around up there. So we fly up there. It's about 10 o'clock or about 9:30 by the time we kind of settled down in an area. We're looking around and we're like, let's just fish this line. And Collin's flipping. And on like his second flip, he breaks off on a fish. And so I start seeing right as he flipped in and got bit, it was like a very obvious like dark shade spot that was surrounded by all kinds of stuff getting pounded by sun. Because again, it's on top of like this flooded island, and there's hay grass and trees on it and stuff. So my brain, for whatever reason, is like, oh, I need to start like targeting those spots, but I don't have a flipping bait, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like spiraling through and I just pick up a frog, and we start frogging and flipping. And I had said in the morning, and he was saying the same thing, like, because him and I love throwing frogs. It's one of our favorite things to do. So we were saying like, let's just go find somewhere we can go have fun. I don't know, throw a frog, flip, something. We knew that there was a lot of potential on the lake for that time of year to go out and flip and frog, but we also knew we were going to be limited to like 20-pound bags. It's going to be really hard to pull off those magical 28 to 35-pound bags that are required to win out on Rayburn. So that's why we didn't do that in the beginning, but we were like, fuck it, let's just go have fun. So yeah, we went up and absolutely whacked them. Like, silly shit. This is what I was using pretty much the entire time. Just your old classic Spro hollow-bodied frog. Now, I wasn't using this color most of the time. I was actually using, and I'll put it right there or right there, one of the two, whichever's easier. And I was using that, I don't know, it's the brown color. It's one of their most popular colors, but it's just a simple brown, all brown frog. And I threw that for, I don't know, for 3 hours or so, and I burned through 2 or 3 of those frogs by catching so many fish with them, literally to where it was like blowing. Where is it? I don't know if it'll focus, but you know that like button on the bottom where, yeah, there it is, that weight right there. That's like glued in there, and I just kept blowing them out. Within like 2 or 3 fish, you started like, because it's so hot outside too, within like 2 or 3 fish, you could start feeling some soft spots in the frog. And then after like 10 fish, the bottom end of it would just blow out. And tie on another one. Eventually started throwing a white one. I only had one white one left. Eventually broke that frog and then finished the day on just a black frog. I don't think they really gave a shit what color it was. It was just about putting something in those shady zones. The bite got so wild at one point, we got really dialed on what they were, that I was able to flip, like Collin got bit under in like one of those shade pockets. And when I say shade pockets, I'm talking this big around. Because we're catching these fish at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon at one point. So the sun's beaming straight down. So the shade and these bushes have no leaves or anything on them. So when the shades are created by like the bush coming together, and then that one dense area before it hits the water casts like one little shadow. And so I'm not joking when I say shade pockets this big. And I would literally throw, that's why I didn't have a popping frog on. Collin was using popping frog and doing decent with it, but I was using a hollow body with it because I wanted to be able to walk it in place really well. Because I would flip, walk it, literally a total distance of about this far, and then reel in and flip to the next spot. And it got so crazy at one point when they were really on that Collin, it was literally like probably 2 to 3 feet in front of the boat. That Collin had flipped a bait into a little shade pocket and got bit and missed it, reeled in. And he was adjusting his bait, and I threw my frog in there, and as it hit the water, one blew up on it, and for the next like 7 bushes in a row, one of us got bit, like when I'm saying like 2-3 feet from the boat, like right there, using frogs, which is just crazy. And then we were throwing in certain bushes or like over the top of certain bushes where one would blow up on it and the frog would just go flying. And then as soon as it would hit the water, you'd see like 2 or 3 other come flying out of the bush, fighting over and shit. It got out of control. It was one of the craziest frog bites ever. So we had an absolute blast. It was a super fun way to end the tournament. I'll put our weight up here. I think we ended up catching 18 pounds that day, something like that, and finishing with our head held high, nothing crazy. I'll put our team of the year ranking here. We kind of blew it at Texoma this year. That was killer for us. So we had some decent finishes, but at the end of the day, it was a pretty challenging year to say the least, because we had some great practices. I know everyone says that, but if you're a tournament guy that's had those moments, you just know like the gut-wrenching feeling of like being super dialed. Like at Toledo Bend, just super quick story, I know I've been rambling, but out at Toledo Bend, we pulled up on these grass flats we were fishing, and we caught 20 something pounds. The next day we went out to the other side of it just to double check it, caught like 20 something pounds. And then a week passed, and we went back for that official practice day. And during that time that we were catching them in the first practice too, was during the Keith Pochet tournament, and there was like 30 boats around us, and none of them were catching fish. But we had figured out this positioning in the drain. Anyways, we go and check on it the Friday before, so a week apart. And we go and check, and we set up on the one side. We make like 10 casts. We catch like 2 or 3 fish. But I think 1 or 2 shake-offs type of thing, but no more than like 10 minutes on each side. And then checked it one more time at the end of the day from a completely different angle on a different drain, different part of it, and caught 2 good ones off of it. And we're like, all right, that's a backup area. Went there the day of the tournament and did terrible. I think we caught like 12 pounds. So that kind of shit is so gut-wrenching and so frustrating. There's nothing like that feeling driving home when you're like, what went wrong? Like, we had it so dialed and it just disappeared, and we didn't adjust quick enough. And we did have all these backups, and all the backups failed, and it was just, gut-wrenching feeling. So we had quite a few of those types of tournaments this year. The Texoma tournament, we had one point that we needed a north wind for. It was going to blow out of the north all week. It didn't. We checked it at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and it was blowing out of the north. And when we pulled out onto it, the entire thing was blown out. The wind was blowing out of the west, and the entire point was blown out. And it was this one little niche thing, and it was our only chance. And we full sent it, and we drove across the damn lake to get there. And you can look up the weather conditions for that tournament, but it was like pouring all day, 28 or 30 something. It was like 33 degrees, feels like 28 or something like that. one of the worst tournaments I've ever fished in my life. But I had a couple rough outings, and so it was just nice to end the year on a high note, at least by just having a good time, you know, just catching a bunch of fish. I guess the only other thing I'll show you is, well, I guess before I move on, I'll just kind of show y'all what I was fishing. So like I said, I was fishing the Spro frog. I always throw my frogs on, you know, something between like a 7.2 and a 7.5. 7.5 is probably a little bit overkill, but I actually have a 7.6 that I've used as a frog and rod out at Choke Canyon, because you have those grass mats sometimes where they blow up on it and then they dig into the grass and you need to be able to really wrench them out. But for the most part, this is my frogging rod. It's a 7.3. This is an old school Johnny Morris carbon light. The reason I've had this thing forever, but the reason I've kept it is because it's got the stainless steel guides, so the braid doesn't eat into the ceramic guides that it normally would. If you're using heavy duty braid, like anything over 30 or 40 pounds, I'd highly recommend throwing it on stainless steel guides. Unless you're going to buy some of the most high-end stuff out there. And even then, I've seen horror stories. I have a couple rods that are horror stories, that are high-end rods, where this, the ceramic guides have to be done so perfectly, and they have to be so strong, and they have to be of such high quality for this to not slowly grind them down. And what happens is it'll grind a wear spot in it, and then especially if you put fluorocarbon on that rod at a later date, it'll just fray that fluorocarbon. So definitely stick to the stainless steel guides with heavy braid if you can. 7.3 is a good number. It does everything for me for the most part. Heavy action, extra fast rod for sure. But what's important is it says like not all rods are the same. Just because it's yours and mine have the same like numbers, you could also have a 7.3 heavy action extra fast rod and it might be a completely different rod than mine. Huge thing with this rod is it's got tip to it. I'm not going to be able to really show you in this. Maybe I can. Yeah, I can. But it's actually very tippy. Like from right here on is like very easy to push down. Like this is not stiff at all. Everything past here is very stiff. The reason why that's important is it gives when you're walking a frog, obviously the line is tight. That's why you're being able to pull the frog. So sometimes those fish suck it under really hard, and that tip just gives them the ability to grab it and swim down. And by doing that, when you set the hook, you have just such a higher percentage chance of catching them, as opposed to them grabbing it while you're walking it and your rod doesn't load up at all, and they swim and it kind of pulls the frog. So maybe they had it lodged and now they pulled it to the side or whatever, and then you set the hook and the frog comes out. It's also just easier to walk a bait with it. That's why I did that. But I've just noticed my hookup ratio is just way better than if you go too stout, you know, on like a broomstick flipping rod style rod. So I know a lot of companies, especially like the more gimmicky companies, sell frog and flipping sticks. But your frogging and flipping sticks should not be the same unless, like I said, you're fishing grass mats. Grass mats, I do throw a flipping stick pretty often because, like I said, they'll grab it and just swim down into that mat, and if you don't have a flipping stick, you're not getting them out. So there's definitely applications, but if I was only going to have one frogging rod, that'd be it. Talking flipping sticks, this would just be such a ridiculous frog rod, so that's why that makes me laugh. But this is a Dobbins 7.6 medium heavy flipping stick. And it's fast action. So that sounds like backwards, right? I don't know if you can. But yeah, it doesn't sound right. Like a medium heavy flipping stick doesn't sound right. The reason why it's medium heavy is kind of the same reason. It has a little bit of tip. It's not super thick like my other flipping stick, which is a Ducket Triad. And then my other flipping stick, the Mojo, is also super thick. This one's a lot thinner. I don't use this as my flipping stick. This is my Carolina rig rod. So it's a 7.6, like I said. I could not do with anything shorter. I could maybe do with like a 7.8. That would actually probably be pretty gas. But fishing with a buddy, as much as I do, 7.6 is nice because it's not too difficult to cast. I've gotten used to fishing with other people in the boat enough to where it's not a huge problem. But as you Carolina rig throwers know, you got to be throwing it with a big leader. And I'll kind of show you all how I have mine set up. Mine's probably the most simple in the game because this is all you actually need.